Okay, today we're going to talk some streaming now, Abby, because I know a while back, before the pandemic, pre-pandemic, there was a story on Forbes that you did about cutting the cable cord and replacing it with more complicated invisible cords. And this was us talking about how streaming is just overwhelming at this point. And recently, there's been news about Netflix and how they're losing subscribers and how people are getting tired of it and everything. But before we get into that, like, what is your method of watching stuff?
I honestly don't even know how to turn on the TV anymore. I'm not joking. I don't know how to turn on the TV. We just moved into a new house and we have some new TVs, and I don't know how to turn them on. I've watched like one thing on the TV.
What did you watch?
Ozark.
Ozark, yeah.
I watched Ozark. I finished Ozark the whole while I was sick a few weeks ago. I watched the entire series.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, new episodes, or we'll cut this just,
Oh, really?
The final episodes are being posted at the end of the month for the whole series.
Well, you'll have to come over and turn on the TV for me, because the only reason I was able to turn on the TV was because Ben was with me watching it.
And wait, is it like, do you have like an Apple TV? Is it a smart TV where you watch things, where you access it through the television?
Okay. So life used to be simpler. We used to have an Apple TV. I actually liked Apple TV. Mm-hmm. I thought Apple TV worked really well. Yep. I understood how to use it. I don't know what we have anymore. It's not Apple TV. It's some other thing where there's a hub.
Okay.
I have no idea how to use the hub. Nope. No, it's like built. It's in the TV. Gene.
Oh, so it's smart. You have a smart hub built into your TV. You're using a smart TV.
The TV.
Yeah, that's because usually when people turn on their TV now, it'll give options where you could have like Netflix or Prime or Hulu.
Right. So I can navigate to Netflix, I think, on this, but then if I click on it, it's not connected. I don't understand how to use the TV. I just want to watch regular, I just want to be able to go to HBO and watch a show, or turn on, I do Pilates that I stream from an app on my phone. And I just want to be able to use the TV properly. And I cannot for the life of me figure out how to use this TV.
And that's the thing, because when we think back to streaming, okay, first, there was cable. Everyone had cable, and it was around, it wasn't cheap. It was like, I remember at some point, it would be like $150, because you'd also have your internet part of it, but then you'd want to have HBO, maybe Showtime, maybe some other packages, and it would always rise. It was always expensive. And then streaming cut the cord. A lot of people, over the past 5-10 years started saying, okay, I just want to stream. But by doing that, you started having all these separate worlds of streaming, because I use an Apple TV. I have a Chromecast. I have a Roku. Like, I'll try them all out, and plus smart TVs.
But what's the point of having all of them? Is it because different ones have different TV shows or movies, and you have to subscribe to the different services in order to have access to every show you want?
I'm a tech nerd. That's why. Like, literally, I use Apple TV the majority of the time. Just because it has all the same ones. It just depends. Like, some TVs, I just try out new things and see if I like it or not. Like, I had a Fire, one of the Amazon ones, but for the most part, you just pick one. And that's why the smart TV is so beneficial, because you don't need anything. You just turn on your TV. The problem I had is with older TVs, it would not run as smoothly. As they've gotten better, Netflix, Amazon Prime might not, it's a lot of work for a TV to do. It's not a full-on computer.
But so I don't understand. So now that I have, because I used to have Apple TV, now that I have the smart hub inside the TV, I don't need Apple TV anymore.
Apple TV is just a set-top box, and it offers, the reason.
So what is a smart TV?
A smart TV is basically the apps built into your television. So think of it as no different than your phone. So as you're going through, you select the app on your phone, you click it, and it's playing right on your TV. And that way you could log in.
The Pilates app that I have on my phone isn't available in the smart hub.
That's the problem, because the thing with Apple TV is, since most of us use Apple products, we could stream it. We could screen share from our TV and just put it up on the TV, and you could do it that way. I've done that too when I'm watching a sporting event.
And now when I try to screencast, it does like a picture-in-picture thing where I have like CNN on one side of the screen and the Pilates on the other side, and I just can't deal. I need some instructions. How to use the TV? How do I turn on the TV? How do I use the TV? I only watch like 2 or 3 things.
Yeah.
I mean, I would watch more if I knew how to use the stupid TV.
I was telling you about the Apple shows. I think you'd love it. You'd love Severance. You'd love Morning Show. That's so your thing. You'd totally be into it. And there's so many shows out there, and it's sad because it used to be with cable, the DVR came along and you could record everything, so you had your own playlist. And now, it depends, because you could get things surfaced up to you, but you might not have access. You click on it, you're like, I really want to watch this movie, and it's like, oh, for an additional fee, you have to subscribe to Stars.
But I used to find out about shows by watching shows on whatever, Apple TV, and then something would say, next up, or you might like based on your, but because I haven't been watching TV, I didn't even know that my favorite show, This Is Us, was back on.
Yeah.
I Googled it yesterday. I was like, when is This Is Us coming back? And because a friend of mine from college is actually the composer on the show. And he had posted something on social media saying that they had just released this new song for this new episode of This Is Us. I'm like, well, when is it coming back on? It's been on since January. I didn't know.
It might actually leave. That happened. Okay, I loved Breaking Bad. I thought it was an amazing show. And then Better Call Saul came along, and I loved that too. It was great. Early in the pandemic, apparently AMC, because they have their own subscription service, and sometimes they post episodes then to Netflix, and sometimes Hulu. It's so confusing. But during that part of the pandemic, I completely was obviously distracted. I didn't realize they'd aired an entire season 5. So now I really wanted to watch it. It was nowhere to be streamed. Like, I didn't want to pay for all the episodes. I don't want to own a season 5 of that. So the entire time I've been waiting, and now that they're releasing a new season, like the final season, Netflix finally added all the season, like all season 5. But I had to wait basically 3 years since I watched season 4. I forgot everything about it. I had no idea what was going on. But these shows just rise and then disappear, and you have no idea. There's no sense of like the importance of something happening. I mean, you remember there's moments.
Maybe it's just me.
It's not just you.
I mean, maybe it's just me that I'm so overwhelmed by how these systems work, and then but I really find that they're so overwhelming that I just dread even trying to watch something, because I'm just like, it's going to be 20 minutes before we can figure out how to figure out, what we're going to watch. Or also I do find that now that with the kids, when we are all together and they want to watch something, it takes us like 30 minutes as a family to figure out what to watch, because there's so many choices. And, but whatever, that's a whole different issue. I just think that it's overwhelming to use all of these different services. And then if you go to somebody else's house,
forget it.
And I mean, you can't, I can't, like at my parents' house, I'm like, Mom, I mean,
it's like, it's just like you're acting out shows. You're not even turning on the TV. You're like performing. You're like, okay, we're going to do an episode of Grey's Anatomy. Everyone places. That's when we did this feature. It's interesting. We did this feature on Forbes, and it was February 20th, 2020. Wow. That was right before that time. And at the time, I said, okay, the leaders were Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Hulu. Then there was cable replacements like YouTube TV and AT&T TV Now. I don't even know if that's a thing. Other ones have been bundled or gone. Then there was CBS All Access, which has become Paramount Plus, HBO Now, which has become HBO Max, Showtime, Disney Plus, and then there was ESPN Plus, which is also part of Disney, and then BritBox. Peacock came along. Now we found out the Disney Discovery Plus launched, but they just recently bought HBO, so now they're becoming one big thing. Everything is, I think Amazon, they bought MGM, which has Bond and Rocky and those things. So it's so bizarre. And Apple TV was kind of like, oh, what are they going to do? And they've started like becoming the HBO of like this kind of like high quality programming. And as you look at all this, you're like, there's so much stuff I want to watch, but how do I watch it? And if I did have an app that aggregated everything together, it still doesn't mean I'm going to have all these services, because like we know Adam, your co-founder, co-CEO, he is a Trekkie. He's had Paramount Plus when it was CBS, and he would talk about all the Star Trek shows. He's like, there's never enough Star Trek. So for him, it's Paramount Plus for like a year, it's like $60. Disney Plus, it's like $80. If you took your family, your 2 kids, and you 4 go to a movie in a theater and bought snacks, you're probably paying more than $80 for that one night out.
Oh yeah, oh totally. I mean, in New York when it was like, it's like $20 or $25 a ticket. Then if you get a pack of M&Ms, it's another $10. If you get a water, it's like $25. I mean, it's $100 a person to go to the movie.
And now for $80, you're like, I get all these shows, I get all these movies, I have these archives. If you want to put on a Pixar movie, they're adding tons of those. So you have all these options, and HBO Max having all the great HBO programming and all these new shows that are coming up. Amazon having a lot of shows. There's ones that you'll like. You'll probably like the show Reacher, which was actually a lot of fun. I know a lot of people in the office like The Boys. So everyone likes certain shows on certain areas. And then there's people like Warren who'll subscribe to services for like a month or 2 just to watch all the stuff. He's very
So how do I watch? How do I watch if I want to watch This Is Us? What do I do?
You would have to know. Okay, is that's on NBC? So is that on Peacock? It could be on Peacock, but sometimes it's on Hulu. Sometimes the deals, because a lot of times what's so confusing is some of these shows are completely, even though they're done by one network, they're on another streaming service. For example, there's a show called Yellowstone, which I watched the hell out of. It was so much fun.
I really want to watch that show. I've heard it's really good.
Love Kevin Costner. It's just it's kind of like Succession in the West. It's like a totally different vibe, and there's lots of amazing scenery.
I love Succession. It's like Succession in the West?
It's kind of like that, where it's like a family, all these struggles, and they fight, and there's a lot of like that, but it's also
how do I watch that?
So right now, that's on Peacock. But the thing that's interesting, it's a Paramount show. So why isn't it on Paramount Plus? Because there's some kind of deal they had with Peacock. But then on Paramount Plus, there's a show called 1887, which is kind of like the earlier years of like how Yellowstone became, how they, this family, the Dutton family, got to this ranch and how they crossed the plains. So when I started watching Yellowstone, I thought, well, it's got to be on Paramount. No, it was on Peacock. Then I'm like, I want to watch 1887. And I had to figure that out. And there was nothing really pointing me to that because.
Oh, wait, but there is one thing that could point you to it. This is actually a good feature.
Yes.
This has been my favorite feature. The only way that I can use the TV is that they have the microphone button on the remote control. And if you press it and say what show, and then I think the way it works is that all of the different options come up for how you can watch the show. And then you, for me, I don't know
if you're subscribed
or
logged in
or logged in. And so then of course, I click on something and it's like, what's your email, and password. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. That's what's so frustrating, because if you get logged out, it's not as easy as the phone. Like I said, that's where a password manager, like a lot of times I'll get logged out and then I'll go through, and since I'm using the Apple TV and it's connected to my phone, I could just, type in using my phone as the keyboard. But again,
right. Well, that's why it's really important, though, to have a system.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's also good to have a system with your family to know, well, what's the Wi-Fi password? How do I turn on the TV? How do I use the remote control? How do I, watch my favorite shows?
Yeah.
That should just be sort of shared information between households.
And that's where we used to have on the walls in the office how to use the Apple TVs, because a lot of times we'd screencast constantly during meetings, or you'd need to know which input it had to be on if you were using the office, the conference room computer versus your own computer versus something else we were watching. And we had it on there where it says, turn on television, have it set to HDMI 1 or whatever setting it was, turn on Apple TV. If you want to use the computer, turn on TV, set to HDMI 2, and you'll use the computer. And it was written in instructions.
I'm a tech savvy person. Yes. If this is so complicated for me, I can't be the only person that this is complicated for. I feel badly for people who I mean, although I just have a feeling that people have mastered it. I
No,
just
they
mastered
haven't, because you know what? I am extremely. I mean, I've been covering tech since like the '90s. I wrote about phones when they were like not even in use. It was like a StarTech was like the greatest invention ever. Like, what are these things? And when streaming started, I remember dealing with it. It was Netflix. That was it. You know, you had some on-demand options, which were through your cable, but Netflix was it. And they kind of sat on their lead for a while. And now all these other ones came up because we knew it would happen. Because why would Disney want to give away? They're like, we want to make this our business. Why would anyone? Why HBO? Like, as cable companies started disappearing or people weren't subscribing, they needed to thrive in some way. And now the fact that they got bought by Discovery, it makes you wonder, like, this landscape is still shaking out. And who are going to be the major players? The thing that's interesting is with things like Amazon or Apple, like, streaming isn't their primary business. Like, it's not even a blip on their balance sheet. I mean, Apple's worth like $1 trillion. You think they could go at this for the next 100 years and just keep adding stuff, and eventually maybe they're going to start consolidating things, and they're like, hey, Paramount, why don't you come over here? Hey, Peacock, you come here.
But here's my other question. Do you need I feel like along the way, because I've had to sign up for all of these different services because I'm not entirely sure if, you know, how we're using them. Do you need to use all of these different services?
No.
Do you use multiple streaming services, or are you supposed to choose one?
That's where we're getting right now. We're in that frenzy, and the frenzy seemed to be cooling where everyone has one. I think CNN Plus happened, and I heard that they're like already after like a month is already tanking. It had like less than like 50,000 viewers or something like that. And you think, who's going to pay for CNN Plus? Like, what? How much more news or information? If you use the internet, it's all there, constantly bombarding us.
Is CNN Plus available through my smart TV, but I have to pay extra to use it? Or
yeah,
so I have to sign up. So I have my smart TV, and then I have to sign up for streaming services.
That's why, because a lot of these smart TVs, they'll say, if you remember on like old Roku's, which is another streaming thing, there'd be on the remote options that would say like Hulu, Netflix, Disney Plus, something, because they would pay to get on those remotes. So people would just hit it and it would open that app immediately. Now, once you open that app, if you didn't subscribe to it, it was just a blank screen saying, hey, sign up. Sometimes they'd offer free options. For example, Amazon, they had IMDb TV. It's something new. It's called like Freevee or something weird. That's their commercial base. That's where a lot of this is going. They're offering a lower tier where you have commercials. Everyone has it except Netflix at this point. Amazon doesn't need it. Apple will probably be doing it. But for the most part, that'll be $4 a month, but you get ads. Hulu is like that, but there's always for $10, $15 a month, there's no ads, which if you're really into it and you're committed to one service, it's probably worth it. And you have to think of what your capability used to be versus what you're paying now. Because in reality, paying for a streaming service annually is basically like 1 month's worth of cable. And if you said, I want to pick 2 or 3, like for me, there's like 4 that I say I really like. They have stuff I watch, but I could make do. That's the one problem with streaming now, that you can get by without watching some of these shows. There's shows I used to watch that they're just not worth the hassle anymore. I remember I watched Walking Dead. It got terrible. But at some point, I just lost track, lost pace, and said, you know what? No more. I don't need it.
But you do need to keep track of which streaming services you have signed up for. Because if you're paying for things, you should make sure to keep a list or just somewhere have it documented what streaming services you're signed up for. Just to know, because there might be ones that you aren't using and you should stop paying for them. But in the event that, you know, somebody needs to find out all the services that you're signed up for, it'll be a good, you know, something good for them to know about.
And if you're sharing, which again, you should be able to. You could share with your household. You could share with other people. I know Netflix, they want to crack down on that, which I think is kind of it's like, it feels like a last ditch move, which is like, now we're going to crack down on that. When in reality, a lot of people would say, okay, you're not paying for the Netflix. I don't have access to it. Okay, no more Netflix. I'm moving on. I'll find something else. Because I could find on Amazon, even though it comes with Prime, I'm already paying for Prime because of the free shipping and you get free storage for photos and there's music that's plenty to listen to. For that, I'd say, you know what? I'll find stuff on Prime. There's tons of stuff. There's more than I could watch in my lifetime on one of these streaming services. So you want to do that list. First, you want to show, how do you access these things? So to help you, it would say, what do we use? And how do we use it? Like, is it this TV? Is it this remote? Is it this? So just literally lay out the most basics.
There needs to be some instructions. Yes. What I want is I want Ben to write me the instructions for how do we use, what services do we use? How do we use the services? How much do we pay for the services, just so we know? And how do you turn it on?
And that how do you turn on I think start with you buried it there. How do I access the television, turn it on, and then how do I watch things? Because otherwise I'm going to hassle you at all times to tell me. I'm just going to keep bothering you. I had like a universal remote where it's like you hit watch TV, you hit watch Apple TV, and it'll set it up that way. But it still can be confusing.
Here's my remote. I mean, there's nothing too complicated on this remote. We have Fios.
Oh, Fios. So you do. So by having cable, a lot of times when you have cable, it also.
No. Yeah. But so I have two remotes.
Yes.
What are these for? So I don't understand. And then the TV does this really weird thing. When you do turn it on, there's no volume. Yeah. And you have to actually turn the volume on.
Do you have it through a separate speaker? Do you have it like set up through like a Sonos or a surround sound type thing?
You are asking the wrong person.
See, this is why, because I am a person that really gets super serious about like, okay, the surround sound and how it's set and how it's organized and how it's updated. So that looks like a TV remote.
So this is a different remote. Now on this remote, there are three little bottom buttons. One says Samsung TV Plus. What's that?
That I don't think is in existence anymore. That used to be their Samsung. That used to be Samsung's like subscription service.
TV.
Yeah.
This is a brand new TV. You're saying it doesn't exist.
If it's Samsung Plus, I mean, I'm guessing it's their streaming service. They used to have something. I had a Samsung.
Or is that the hub?
And everything, that's probably the hub, because when I had a Samsung, every like 20 minutes something would pop up saying we're discontinuing a service, and I was like, Samsung, stop interrupting my program with your message.
So I have Samsung TV Plus, Prime Video, and Netflix. That's why, on the bottom.
And that's basically Prime and Netflix were like, hey, Samsung, add us to your TV, we'll be part of your thing, and people buy more of your TVs. Plus they usually pay for that. It's kind of like great free promotion, because if someone uses
But if I want to watch HBO, I do Samsung Plus, and then I go to HBO.
And then you have to find HBO Max through there, or you'd have to find whatever you want to find through there. And you're right with workout apps, like Apple TV has the fitness, but if you don't have it that way, then you have to figure out another way of casting to the TV, or using an iPad or using your phone.
Yeah.
Because they have
made that's what I do. That's what I do. I can screencast. AirPlay.
Yeah.
I can AirPlay from my phone. So I play the app on my phone for Melissa Wood, who's this Pilates instructor that I follow, and I can AirPlay the class onto the TV, and just through, of course, have to have Wi-Fi, like whatever, but.
And putting together that list. So, okay, after you figure out how your system works, because again, systems, some people have old TVs, some people have new TVs, some people have systems that are very specific, like me, where I'm very particular about how everything works. You then have to say, okay, this is how it functions, but then what do we have? And a lot of times people might not know. If you pay annually and you just get it out of the way, a lot of people pay month to month, which is also smart, because you could cancel at any time. It's not like you're going to lose something. You say, I don't want Paramount anymore. I'm done paying you for the month. You could put your Netflix on hiatus, or you could pause those subscriptions. You do that. But
how much do these services cost?
See, that's where it gets interesting, because a lot of times they're usually between $4 and $15 a month. So for the lower tier ones, it could be $5, $6 for the lower tiers. And then it could go up to $15 to even $20 for Netflix. And that's the problem, because Netflix is starting to price itself out and starting to feel a lot like cable TV. For $60, I think you can get YouTube TV and you get tons of channels, and it's basically like having cable. But do you want to pay $60 to do that? Probably not. YouTube has apps everywhere, and it's Google. And for them, they make most of their money when I go to watch, or you go to watch videos on YouTube and it says skip ad. There's an ad before everything. If a video is over 5 minutes, it seems like there's like an ad break in there, and they're doing it just to get you to upgrade to premium. But most of us are like, I'm not willing to pay for YouTube videos. A lot of these are just repurposed things I've watched elsewhere. But when it comes down to it, you should look at it and say, am I paying more for all this streaming than I would if I was getting cable? Because eventually it's probably going to shake out where we're going to end up with cable again, where it's like, I want to get the best programming, the best shows, and I want to figure that out, and I don't want to have to buy them individually.
Can you still buy cable?
Totally. I mean, the cable, and they're more than happy to sell it to you. Here's what's crazy. I wanted to get my internet bill down because it just started going up and up and up. And I use Spectrum. And when I went there to change my bill, I'm like, there's got to be a deal. They said, okay, well, we could lower it by $20 if you take our TV package. And I said, wait, you're going to give me a TV package? And they're like, well, it's an app. It's a Spectrum app. You log in, you get all this programming, and you're going to pay less. So basically, I lowered my bill $20 by getting more services. Now, their app, it's similar to what you said. When I turn it on, it has New York One blaring in the background at all times while I'm trying to find something. I have to hit mute immediately. And it has a lot of Discovery stuff. It has some movies. And I don't use it that often because it's not that great. But if you just wanted TV and you want to watch news, you want to keep up with things and watch it that way, it's not much different than if I watched it with, as I've said, I'm a huge fan of antennas. I mean, I know you made fun of me for that. I have gotten almost everyone. Sarah, I got her when I told her about the antenna. For $20, you get an over-the-air antenna. And if you want to watch things like, that's how I watch the Academy Awards. That's how I watch the Super Bowl. When the Masters were on, I just had it on. It's like you just get an antenna and you could just have TV playing in the background. And who cares? It's free. It's literally being broadcast all around us. So that's how you could take care of your like breaking news, big events, things like that. The debates, the presidential addresses, State of the Union, just it's on every network. There, if you plugged it in, you probably get over 100 channels free right now. You know, I watch.
So what do you do?
The Today Show and Good Morning America. You turn it on, it does a scan, it does through the thing, and you can get one for $20. And and that's a way to take care of your like live TV needs. Now it's old timey. You get commercials.
So you do antenna plus some streaming services?
I do antenna. I have Amazon through that. I've had Netflix since basically it was the startup DVD rental service and moved to streaming. I have Paramount and I have HBO. And I think, and some of these, I say, like, if I had to choose which ones do I use the most, a lot of times it's the comfort in how the UI and how their user interface, because that's the one thing. Netflix by far has the best and Amazon has the worst. So it takes a little time to find things. You have to curate your lists. It becomes a hassle. But for me, I know what you're saying. You sit down to watch something with another person and you spend a half hour finding something to the point where you're not even interested anymore. So I like to kind of do preparation and say, okay, I know this show is coming. I know they're adding this.
That's a good idea.
And I'm kind of excited. So I'll kind of wait on it. And I also made a new rule that unless every episode is posted, I will not start watching a show, because I got frustrated waiting week to week. The whole point of streaming was give it to me and I want to watch it at my pace. It doesn't mean I'm going to sit there and watch an entire season of The Witcher in one sitting, but maybe I have time here and there. But I also don't want to get to an episode and say, okay, now wait another week. So for Disney, I wait till they post all the Mandalorian shows. Or
so when does Ozark come back on?
Ozark is, I think, the 29th of this month. It's the final episode. So they split the season in two. So it's the final episode.
But there's only one more episode?
No, it's one more series of episodes, like 6 more episodes.
Oh, okay.
But those types of things, it used to be much more like Epic, where you hear things, but there's a lot of shows that you hear a lot of noise and then they just disappear. And you're wondering what happened to this show. I mean, a show like...
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
Or they flare up. Like Squid Game, loved it, thought it was incredible. But then you watch it and you're like, cool, I'm done. And a lot of times what I see for streaming is comfort. That's why people love Seinfeld and Friends and The Office and Law and Order and Criminal Minds and shows like that, because you just want to put something on that, you know, you're on your phone or your computer anyway, and you kind of enjoy it. I enjoy a lot of people love those house hunting shows. You literally just put it on, let it play, and you can go about your day and it's something in the background. And that could be something where you shouldn't be paying hundreds a month for this stuff. You should put it down, look at your subscriptions when you aggregate financials and say, okay, what am I paying for and how am I paying for it? If you do it by year, make sure you put reminders on your calendar. I have them. Apple TV I got for free for a year when I bought an Apple TV. I have it on my calendar. Okay, this is when it's due, and you're going to have to make a decision. Do you want to keep it? What are the tiers? How much are you willing to pay for it? And then you say, you know what? If it's $40 or $50, I'm like, again, I haven't gone to a movie in a theater for 2 years. I used to go sometimes 2-3 times a week. I loved movies in theaters. So now all that goes towards streaming. And it goes a lot longer because it gives me options.
I saw a really good movie recently.
What was that?
That King Richard.
Oh, you liked it. The Serena Williams.
It was amazing.
The Williams sisters about the father. Yeah, it was like upbeat. It gave you that feeling of like triumph.
It's just an amazing story. And I mean, just really an incredible story. And it's, even if half of it is true, it's really incredible. And so, but I never watch movies, but we finally, I was, like I said, I was sick. So we watched Ozark and King Richard, and that was it.
That's over and over and over again. And what's interesting is I think for that, it's interesting knowing, like, remembering when Venus and Serena first started playing tennis, seeing them and being like, oh, wow, they seem much better than everyone else. And like looking back at their career, it's interesting. We're at that point of life where we remember the beginning and we watched it happen, because most historical things we watch take place like The Crown. And it's like, oh, this was a century ago. And now seeing like,
we're just getting history, really old.
We're getting old, which is why streaming needs to be simplified. So if you have Apple TV, if you have a Fire Stick.
I'm getting too, in my old age, I'm not able to understand the complexities of the streaming services that are being sold to me or included on my devices. So can somebody help me, please?
Yes, we're here. We're here to help. And right now, you're going to tell Ben, first, list out what we have. I want to know. And also sharing the passwords with you, because if you get logged out, how are you going to get back in? And some of these randomly will say like, oh, you're no longer signed in. And it's like, really?